محاضرة ما يشابه. Sometimes we will take the lecture on Zoom and then we'll record it and we will upload it on the website. And sometimes I will record and explain the lecture and put it on Zoom, on the website, and then we will have our Zoom meeting. And during the Zoom meeting, if you have questions, we can answer them. يعني بدي هندك جارة محاضرة خو تر باوربوينت زدي محاضرة دنجي تسجيل كم وسر e-learning داينم باشي in the Zoom we will have questions and answer. Okay, our lecture, our subject is electrical power engineering. نبذة واضحة. You can see the lecture. Is it clear?
بالي سيدة واضحة.
Okay, it's electrical power engineering. What we are going to study through this course in electrical power engineering, we will describe various methods of power generation. We have currently so many types of power generation, starting from renewable to non-renewable energy sources. Then we will understand how to classify the problems on variable load on power station and calculate overhead lines and underground cables characteristics and parameters. We can calculate sag, string efficiency, corona losses, and so on. These are the references I'm taking. Please, if you have questions, raise your hand. Don't interrupt. These are the references that I'm depending on in my lectures. You can find them online, or if you couldn't find them, I may send them to you later. Assessment of the course, midterm, exam, quizzes, assignments, 50%, and final examination, 50%. This may change. Let's see. This will be different. What I mean by quizzes and assignments also includes the attendance, غيابات. Okay? So far, is it clear? No questions? Okay. The main component of an electrical power system generation, any power system generation, we have a standard component, some standard components. Here, this is all what we are going to study this year. First, we will start with the generation side. We will study the generation side. Generation even. How many type of generation systems we have. We call generation systems are power systems, okay, as power systems or power energy source. This course we will take only non-renewable and then in the other course we will take the renewable. So generation system, we may have diesel, we may have hydroelectric, we may have solar panels, we may have wind turbines, geothermals. In the generation system, we have a generator. What is a generator? As you already may know, generator is an essential component of power system. It's either three-phase AC generator, as known asynchronous generator, or alternator. In small generators, we may have single phase as well. Then after we generate our power, we have to transform it. We have to transform it. Before we transform our power, we are using transformers to step up the voltage. Okay, we transmit our electrical power in high voltage. Anybody knows why? The question is here is why we are
هذا سريع بتشيتن ودا بارزابون
سيدا
كان بيت خساراتي
Zana.
بله سيدا دا چلوس چه نبن آنه
Okay, to reduce the
دا reduce the loss bit ووقت تجهد جد full high efficiency bit
Yunus.
سيدو اضطريت يدو جالك لوسس شيت بتن فيجو ام بلندد كين دوكو مثلا ام دي حسيب كين ما بيت كيلو بجاتن الوي ديستنيشن فازا كم 6.6 كيلو بلا 0.6 جيبها بتنشبار لوسس 6 جاتا وي جي افي مفيتن
Okay, we will discuss and study this in details in future lectures. The main reasons that we are transmitting in high voltage is to minimize the losses, especially current losses. Muhammad Jamal, دنجد دناي please. وقتي شوى بسيارة كبير raise your hand and do not interrupt, please. So, as I said, the main reason that we are transmitting in high voltage is to minimize and reduce the losses, especially the losses that are coming from high currents. Because we have the same power, whenever we increase the voltage, we reduce the current because power equals current multiplied by volt by power factor. Okay? So if we increase the voltage, we have to reduce the current. And when we reduce the current, we will reduce the size of the conductor materials. We will have low heat in the transmission line. So if we have low losses, this means that we have high efficiency transmission line. And in future lectures, we will discuss this in details and in mathematical expressions. After stepping up our voltage, we will come to transmission line. We have different type of transmission lines. We have either overhead transmission lines or underground transmission lines. Okay, different type of transmission lines. We have also either low voltage transmission line, medium voltage transmission line, or high voltage transmission line. Also in coming lectures, we will study the transmission lines in detail, type of transmission lines and type of materials we are using for transmission lines and the components of transmission lines. Transmission line contains different type of components. They are using different type of conductors. Some transmission lines have copper, some transmission lines have aluminum, and we will discuss this in coming lectures. Any questions? Then we have substations. Okay. Also, don't forget, in transmission line, we have different type of transmitting, different rates of transmitting voltages, okay? Different rates of transmitting voltages. In substations and distribution subsystems, we reduce the high voltage to the consumer level voltage. So the distribution transformer reduces the high voltage to low voltage in order for the consumer to use it. Okay, the question is here is, what is the voltage at the consumer side? Muhammad Salah.
سيدا 240 220 على 240.
We have either single phase, which is 220 volts, or three phase, which is 400 volts. That's what we are using. What is the frequency? Zana. Zana Suleiman.
سيدة 150 hertz.
Frequency is 50 hertz. The frequency we are using in Iraq is 50 hertz. Some countries like US, they use 60 hertz. Okay, 110 volts, 60 hertz. Okay, the loads we have different loads. Either we have industrial loads or commercial loads. So industrial loads are induction motors, high power induction motors, and commercial industrial loads, they have high power. Or commercial loads. Commercial loads are consisting largely of lighting, heating, and cooking. These are the main components of a power system, okay? Electrical power system. This is a small or few informations about them. In generation side, from now on, we will call this side power plants, okay? Generation stations, big stations, we call them power plants. محطات مخزن أما بجنتي power plants, okay? So, power plants, mainly we have a generator. The generator consists of two main parts, a prime mover and an alternator. Okay, the prime mover is coupled to the alternator. The alternator is converting the energy from prime mover's side to electrical energy. Okay, the prime mover may be from steam power stations, from hydroelectric power stations, maybe from diesel power station, nuclear, and so on. If it's from steam power station, we call it steam turbine. If it's from hydroelectric, okay, we call it water turbine, and so on. So the prime mover, here we have a mechanical energy which is converted to electrical energy, or kinetic energy, we can call it طاقة حركية أو طاقة ميكانيكية. Okay, now let's take steam turbine power plant. This is steam turbine power plant. What do you have to know about this system? You have to know the components. Okay, these are the components: boiler, turbine, condenser, cooling water. We have to know type of fuel. What is the type of fuel that we are using? We use coal, فحم. Okay. This type of system works on physical principles of the vapor power. Okay, sir. Vapor power cycles or Rankine cycles. Steam, يعني بخار, here in the boiler expanded in the prime mover. Then we have here a turbine which is connected to a generator, and it will produce electrical energy and electrical power, which is going to be transmitted to the consumer through transformer and transmission lines. Okay, where or when this type of power plant is suitable to use? This type of power plant is suitable to use when large amount of electrical power is needed, okay? And when fuel and water are available, okay? Don't forget, the fuel for this type of power plant is coal, okay? Now here we're using steam turbine. We have different or two type of turbines. Steam turbine or reciprocating engines. Reciprocating engines أو نوع mechanical engine. Generally they are using in cars with piston. Okay, what are the differences between each one of them? Okay, here reciprocating engines and steam turbines. Steam turbines, the construction is balanced, okay? High efficiency, few moving parts. نواكي أوي نافترن بريدا piston أو قالك يتهناوي حركة جدا, okay? Easy to maintain and they are available in very large size. The advantage of this type of power plant are fuel is cheap. Initial cost when we compare it to hydroelectric and nuclear station are low. Here you have to know what we mean by initial costs. What do we mean by initial costs? هشام رمضان.
لا السيدة بعد
من
السيدة
نسي هشام؟
نازل قالته
Okay. هشام, what do we mean by initial costs?
initial السيدة
Initial cost. ما تقول خندا محاضرتنا بني initial cost.
سيدة بنا بت قيمة تكلفة
Okay, cost تكلفات شو تشتي؟
تكلفة أبي قوة السيدة هو كهرباء
No. نورا
كون
صالح.
مزوسي
نورا صالح.
مالي السيدة.
What do we mean by initial costs?
سيدة يعني التكلفة أو الدسبيكية
يا دسبيكات شي؟
دسبيكك ودسبيكت.
Okay, I don't want to translate it. I want the meaning. Initial cost. محمد صالح.
السيدة تكلفة إنشاء مشروع قالك.
تكلفة إنشائية. Okay, initial cost تكلفة إنشائية. يعني شو مقصدي ما بتكلفة إنشاء؟ Initial cost أو تكلفة واختكام power plant when we built the power plant. أبد مش نبي initial costs. Okay, ما we have another cost we call it running cost. Running cost شا تكلفة running تكلفة واختكام when we run the system. اختيار عندنا شو okay. Running cost تكلفة شتى تكلفة comes from fuel, from the maintenance. All of these are running costs. Then we have production cost. Production cost, it's the cost of kilowatt per money type, per US dollar maybe, okay? Don't forget this. Also, let's go back to steam power plants, okay? It requires less place, cost of generation cost or production cost is less than of the diesel power station. What are the disadvantages? Disadvantage, it pollutes it using coal, so it produces carbon dioxide smoke. It pollutes the atmosphere, it's not good for the environment. It must costly in running cost, okay? Running costs are high when compared to hydroelectric power plant. Can you tell me why? Alan.
Because of the worker salary.
No. Okay, let's go to the next slide and then you will understand why. Here, hydroelectric power station. What do you have to know about hydroelectric power station? Hydroelectric power station أو طاقات سدود. For example, سد الموصل. سدها موصلي هي. Okay. You have to know the components of the system of the power plant. The power plant consists of reservoir, سدة, dam, then penstock. This is the penstock. This is control gate. Transformer, of course, generator, and we have transmission line. Okay. The concept of operation here, when we store energy here, water is stored, we consider it energy. The water flow through the penstock becomes kinetic energy, يعني طاقة حركية شديدة due to its motion. Okay, the water turbine then here captures this energy and rotates the generator, and in this way, kinetic energy is converted into electrical energy. Then we transmit them through transmission line. Okay. Can you tell me, Hisham تشاهي هشام?
سيدهم بسيرك هاي
Okay.
معناه حتى مجال المغناطيسي اللي بيتلوجن ندوه سر عكسه هيك دو قوات مهبن حتى مثلا توربين زفري يا جرابة أوفات أفيزك شو قامة بهات وهم هذا بيش كي بهي
چی دشکی
معناه حتى زي بيدود باللازم مثلا قواتك بيدود باللازم دوه عكسك شو اللي بيكن
Okay,
داو
here
توربين زفري
when water is coming from the penstock, it will hit the turbine and then water goes in this way. So the turbine will rotate 360 degrees. درست هشام؟
شو سيدا
وقتك الفيري را هذا البنستوك يرا توربين دي زفري دي 106 درجة زفريش بر دي تفيري الفيري ناميني دي هذا الفيري را الاوت فلورا وهي تفير رخي.
تمام درست.
So the advantage of this type of system, the fuel is free. Fuel is free because it's water. It's clean. There is no smoke here. It requires very small running costs. Why small running costs? Muhammad Jamal. Why
چونکو ما فيول نينا فيول استعمالنا اوكي
fuel ما تشيل فيري؟ آفا بلاشة. Okay. The other advantage, it doesn't require a long starting time. Long starting time, like a steam power station. Starting time, the turbine will rotate immediately. But in steam, in steam, we have to burn the coal and then we have to boil the water. So it requires some starting time. Okay. But here, it doesn't require long starting time. It's robust. It has a longer life. Also, this type of plants help in irrigation and controlling floods. Okay. The disadvantage, it involves high capital cost or high initial cost. But when we build the dam, it's very expensive. Okay. We are uncertain about the availability of water. We can't control the water. Maybe sometimes we don't have rains, we don't have snow, so it's uncertain. Skilled and experienced people required to build this dam. Okay, high cost of transmission. Transmission costs here are high. شبر وقت كما صدق تشيكر لازم المنطقة كيبي آفها باحتمال جابي تشتك به and that area احتمالش مش قنداش باجرة الدوربين ف we need longer transmission lines. Okay. Here, the other type of power station is a nuclear power station. You have to know and understand the reactor. Okay. You have to understand this reactor. You have to understand and know how to draw the reactor and what are the components of the reactor. Advantage of the nuclear power station: fuel is small. We use uranium, so fuel is small. So cost of fuel transportation is low. Requires less space when we compare to other type of same size. Very small running charge, because very small amount of fuel can produce bulk electrical energy. Okay. Also, it can be located near centers because it doesn't require large quantities water or coal or any other thing. But the main advantage is that from a small amount of fuel, it produces a very large amount of electrical energy. Disadvantage: fuel is expensive. Initial costs are high, okay? And also the problem of radioactive waste. إشعاعات النووي. Okay, this is homework for you. You study this one at home. Now, the last one here we have is diesel power plant. محطة ديزل. The advantage of diesel design is simple. It requires less space and it can be located at any place. You can locate the diesel power plant at any place. It can be started quickly, unlike coal. يعني just you run it and then it will produce electrical energy in a very short time. No standby losses. Zone standby losses. Yeah, what do we mean by standby losses? If we compare this system or this station with, let's say, steam power plants, which one or what are the standby losses here? هيك نظامي standby losses شينا بمعنى if we available
it means when we at the first when we start our work, if we find a losses, that mean by the standby losses.
Standby losses, we mean if we don't need the generator, we will just turn it off simply with a switch. Okay, but in steam turbines, we can't turn it off because we already burning coal, we already boiling water. So that burned coal, that boiled water, all of those are standby losses. Okay. Also, diesel generation, diesel power plants, they require less quantity of water for cooling. The overall cost is less than of steam power station. Thermal efficiency is higher than of steam power station, and it requires less operating staff. The disadvantage, it has a high running charge because diesel is expensive. Diesel is more expensive than coal. This type of plant doesn't work satisfactorily under overload conditions for longer period of time. Okay. The plant can only generate small power. Cost of lubrication is generally high. Maintenance charges are generally high. These are the disadvantages of the system. Any questions? This is the end of the lecture. Any questions? This lecture, Bali Yunus.
سيدو او nuclear power plant دو
إيه.
او شو generated كده يعني شو
You
mechanical energy كده
this is
كده
a,
electrical energy.
this is a homework for you. Here I mention it here. Okay, this is a
Oh.
homework for you.
Okay, so
Okay, we use uranium and thorium to generate high temperature and high pressure. Okay, any other questions? Yunus?
العفو سيدة ما نينو
Okay, Zana, بلي Zana.
سيدا nuclear system حميد بما هو مرقم
It's homework. It's gonna take you 5 minutes only. You have
Okay,
to know the only the cost of operation. Just it's a home study. You study it at home, and
okay,
you have to understand only the reactor, not this one. You don't have to know how to draw this one. You need to know how to draw the reactor only. Okay.
okay.
Any other questions?
بس سيدا غيابات متابعين
Yeah, but as I told you, starting from next lecture, we will take the attendance. We will take a screenshot from the participants list, and from time to time, we will send you private message to each one of them to make sure that you guys are paying attention.